you have a hard time choosing your favorite color? I do. Some days I love purple, some days I love orange, some days I love yellow. I just can't figure it out. And our author from today's story also has such a hard time choosing colors. She says that's actually her hardest question that someone asks her. Julie Denos actually wrote this lovely book called Swatch, The Girl Who Loved Color. Swatch, The Girl Who Loved Color by Julia Denos. In a place where colors ran wild, there lived a girl who was wilder still. Her name was Swatch, and she was a color tamer. She was small, but she was not afraid. She could run with the wildest shades, train them to dance, and do magic. With a little patience, she learned to hunt the rare ones. Bravest green shot up the first week of March. In between gray lived on her kitten's legs. Rumble tumble pink rolled through the sky on the heels of outgoing thunderstorms. When she called them by name, they would come to her because Swatch loved color and color loved Swatch back. Swatch had never thought of capturing a color until the day she lured just laid blue straight from its nest and into a jam jar. "Stay," Swatch said, and the color stayed. Oh, how beautiful it looked behind glass. "You could use a friend," she said to Blue. She caught one more, and then another, and another. Morning came, and there it was, fast, fading, and fierce, the king of all yellows, blooming in the sidewalk crack in spite of the shadows. Swatch was ready. At last, yellowest yellow would be hers. Suddenly she heard a small sound. "Ahem," said yellowest yellow. "What are you doing?" Swatch had never asked a color if it wanted taming. "Yellowest yellow," she asked politely, "would you like to climb into this jar? You could sit on a shelf right next to Blue. You could make green together all day long if you wanted. I'll poke holes in the top and I'll feed you dinner." But Yellow, knowing that was no way to live, said, "No, thank you." And Swatch, who could have scooped it up anyway, said, "Okay." Given that small but kindly allowance, it grew and yawned and stretched and twirled. It bloomed and whirled and leaped and swirled, spreading, billowing, twisting, up, up, up. It sprouted ears and pointy teeth. It was as big as a house. Roar, went yellowest of yellows. Swatch felt small. Her jar seemed silly. She had forgotten that colors were wild. So she shut her eyes and prepared to be eaten. Then Swatch heard something sweet and warbling like a fleet of canaries. She smelled something warm and buttery like breakfast. Then something swooshed against her knee, purring and soft, just like home. So she opened her eyes. She reached out her hand, and stretching from her tiptoes, she found she could indeed touch Yellow. "Hold on," Yellow said, and it pulled her up, 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 high over the rooftop. She called her colors by name, and they came to her. Together, they made a masterpiece. Aren't you glad we got to meet Swatch today? She's such a wild, fun character. I love how she plays with color. So we're going to do 2 projects, and you can do both of them. You can do one of them, But just watch and see which one catches your eye today, because that's probably the one you want to start with. We're going to do something so easy and simple that you might even just laugh at me. But we're going to paint a paper towel. So let me show you what you'll need. You'll need a bowl of water and a paintbrush or two. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. And you'll need some paper towels. I kid you not. You'll need some paper towels. Now, if you watch for a minute, you'll see exactly what I do. So go ahead. See what happens when I paint the paper towels. What do you do with a painted paper towel? You could put it in a frame. You could hang it on the wall in your room. You could make it into a rug in one of your playhouses. I bet you even have some other ideas. You could fold it and make it into a card and put a piece of paper on the inside that's white and write someone a lovely note. There's so many amazing things. Yes, you have to let it dry. But wasn't that fun to make? I thought about Swatch and how the colors were wild. And I thought, you know, I wonder if I could make a container out of colors that I could catch things with. You know, put little treasures and trinkets and things inside. And that's what I've done with all of my colors to hold and catch things. So I want to show you quick how to do it, and I'll show you what the supplies are you need to make your very own bowl. The clay I used is called Sculpty clay, and it's basically a clay that you bake in the oven. You're also going to need a bowl. Now, this bowl is glass. I like to get the glass one so that as I was sculpting, I could see what my colors were looking like on the inside and on the outside. I also got some saran wrap. And what I did, I took this and I lined my bowl with it. So I pushed this all the way down inside the bowl. You could probably use wax paper too. I just didn't want my bowl to stick to my bowl. Is that a silly thing to say? You know, when I'm working with the clay and I'm pushing and rubbing on it, it tends to stick to things. And so by putting this plastic on the inside or wax paper, either one is great, it protects my bowl so that when I'm finished, I can pull it back out. I actually had to pull on the plastic wrap to get my bowl back out. It was so tight in the glass. Now, you don't have to use glass. You could use metal. You could use any container. You could use a paper cup. It doesn't matter. Whatever you like, okay? Or whatever you can find. But remember, whatever shape this bowl is, your treasure color bowl is going to have a very similar shape. You see that? You're not going to use a lot of this. I know it's a teeny tiny block, but probably you will use less than half to make your bowl. So what you want to start by doing, choose your colors. Think about what kind of design you want. I went for a rainbow. I added some polka dots around the top edge because they made me happy. I added a flower kind of down in the middle here. And I decided to use my fingers and smush the clay back and forth. And that's how I got some of that watercolor where it looks like it's melting together effect. These circles around the edge, I just smushed together a little bit. Now they're kind of fragile because they're right at the edge and they could break off. So you have to think about that when you're adding things to the edge. When you get your clay out of your block, pinch off a little bit, just like that. And start to warm it up between your fingers. Sculpty clay is hard, okay? And when it's cold, it gets harder. So warming it up and squishing it between your fingers makes it easier to use. And that's a really great way to mix your colors. So if you wanted to make a new color, Get a couple colors and knead it. Squish it between your fingers. Mine's already getting softer. I started by rolling some long snakes of clay, and then I just started laying them down in the bowl and smushing them together. Really, that's all I did. I rolled out snakes, and then when I laid them in the bowl, I smushed them together. Now, I also did some little teeny tiny, now this one's too big. Isn't that funny? You got teeny tiny bits of clay and it's too big. So I'm going to roll this around and around and around and around and smush it between my fingers. See that? Ooh, did you see that cool color on there? I love it. Love that. Now this is kind of one of the little pancakes, like what I put around the outside of my bowl. It's almost the same size as some of my pancakes. Those are the only pieces that I did. I made little snakes and I made pancakes, and then I kind of just smushed them together. You see how they stick? Now, when you finish forming your bowl and you're super excited about how it looks, take it out of your form. Okay, take it out of this. Put it on a tray, a cookie sheet, and put it in your oven. You might need your adults. If your bowl is thicker than mine, see, mine is so skinny, only about the thickness. It's even skinnier than money. It might only be as thick as a dime. I know it's not as thick as a nickel, right? So think about how thick your bowl is. If your bowl is thick like a chocolate chip cookie, that's too thick, okay? If your bowl is thin like a piece of paper, that's really too thin. You want to get it about a nickel or a dime in thickness, okay? So I'll let you see how I made my bowl, and then I want you to get started making yours and have fun. I would love to see the projects that you create. I would love to hear how inspired you were by Swatch. Or maybe you invented your own project. Feel free to send me a picture. You can tag Yellow Bobby Pins on social media. You could even just shoot me an email and say, hey, Miss Lauren, I love this project and this is what I made. I wanted to show you. Thanks for joining me in making art. I am so happy to spend time with you.